acceptance. I had done it. It was a huge step forward in my professional journey. And then many of these people can also relate, overwhelming dread, because what the heck did we just get ourselves into? And I remember going to orientation and meeting all the lovely men and women that you hopefully can see sitting here in the back. They're absolutely awesome. And they were incredibly gracious, they were incredibly kind, they were uplifting, and they were hopeful for us, being the next generation of nurses. And I'll never forget the look on their faces. They smiled so politely, and they were so gracious. I now know that that look was just pity, because we had absolutely no clue what we were getting ourselves into. Seriously though, it has been a journey this year, and we couldn't have accomplished the monumental feat that we have without the guiding presence of the men and women of the faculty and the staff of Samuel Merritt. And so I want to start by saying thank you all very, very, very much. A lot has changed since we first began. Our relationships with our instructors changed from the beginning of the year through now to the end of the year. We've learned some things about that crazy bunch of people behind us. We've made some observations. They were strangers at one point, but now they're familiar, right? You know, you get more familiar with people over time, but some of them are a little too familiar, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to explain. So to start off, I just want to say the staff on campus is absolutely amazing. They drop anything whenever we needed anything done, and they were here, and they always, always followed through for us. I didn't get to connect with absolutely everyone, but I can tell you the truth that from the front end receptionist all the way to the back end of the ladies who are holding it down day to day, they're absolutely amazing. And there's a few that stand out in my mind specifically. I want to talk about Sunny. Where's Sunny? There she is, my girl. Now, she was one of the most helpful people that you could ever ask for on staff. Whether it was our course evaluations, she was working tirelessly for our preceptorship placements. Thank you so much for that. I know that coordinating placements in multiple hospitals for 39, 40 people is absolutely crazy, and she was able to do it, and she was able to do it in a timely manner, so thank you so much. Putting herself at our disposal anytime during the middle of her busy day. She had this unstoppable positivity. I remember specifically, I was in a class and I needed to borrow some supplies from the lab, so I submitted an application to borrow the supplies, and I was able to do it, and it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, and I still had not returned them, because let's face it, that's me. She sent me the sweetest email that you could ever describe, reminding me, hey, Chris, remember those lab supplies? I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And in my defense, I promptly never responded, right? So a couple weeks after that, when I finally did drop them by, she was so nice and so pleasant. She said, oh, Chris, you did receive my email. I look over at Sabina, and Sabina's like, about time. She said you were like 3 weeks late, which I was. And speaking of Sabina, she was always incredibly polite. Yes, thank you. Where's Sabina at? Where is she? There we go, hand up, my girl. You know, originally, she was very formal behind her desk. She was prim, she was proper. But as we all know, as the year went on, she became progressively more sassy. And that sass came out whenever she had to make an announcement. And she did a ton for us, don't get me wrong. She was always there fielding our questions. She was always there making sure, it seemed like making sure the whole school didn't fall apart. I mean, let's be real. But at the time when she would come in and make some of our announcements, it got so sassy and so funny, I didn't know whether to take her seriously or not. So this was information that it just went right over my head because I was laughing so hard all the time, which is why obviously I didn't know when anything was ever due or anything like that. But Sunny and Sabina were absolutely astounding, and we thank you for that. And we can't forget Celia, my girl way up in the back, holding it down. It's like having your own personal genius bar at Samuel Merritt. You know, so at the school we have these smart podiums that you can hook your computer up to and it projects onto the screen, and they're really expensive apparently. And Celia is like the guardian of these things. And I remember one time just even like thinking about putting my finger on one and she's like, here, what are you doing, Chris? I'm like, oh my God, Celia. I was dusting. That's all I was doing. I was just dusting it off. for the next professor. I know I'm not supposed to touch this, so that's not what I was doing at all. But she was always there helping, and she was always there supporting us. And I remember that she always smiled at the very end of all of our computer-based tests that we had to take. And it was so pleasant, even though we know we failed some of these tests, she was so pleasant. The one thing I really want to say is, really the head and the captain of the ship is Renee. She's our fearless leader. Where's Renee? Raise your hand. Not only was she one of our professors, but she's also the director and captain of the Sacramento campus. Oh, Renee, with your vintage bedpan on your desk, full of candy. Fun fact, that vintage bedpan was used by Florence Nightingale herself. It's a collector's item, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Truthfully, though, the class wasn't always easy to deal with, and Renee handled our tears and our concerns and our fears and our angry emails with a lot of grace. She fought for us, and I'm sure that we haven't the slightest idea of how hard she actually worked for us this year. And so for all the things that we have seen and for all the things that we have not seen, Renee, thank you. And I know you think this is the end, but it's not, because you can't kick me off. So the instructors were also great, and I'm not going to let them get out of this. So we got to know them as well. We learned from Leslie. Oh yeah. See, Leslie was a sweetheart, and to her, we were all just her little kiddos. You know, her little chitlins running around campus, messing with all the dummies that we got to play with. She was so pleasant that even when we were in trouble, it felt like she was lifting us up. Even as she scolded us, it just felt nice. And then Talitha. Talitha, where's Talitha? Ready now? Yeah. I've affectionately dubbed her the Velvet Sledgehammer. Because her test hit you upside the head so hard, you got knocked straight to the ground. But she was so polite and she was so nice that, you know what, you thought to yourself, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe it wasn't that bad. And then there was Bill. Where's Bill? That's right. Bill taught us all the appreciation of a good bottle of wine. We had him for 10 weeks, and let's be real, that bottle of wine didn't even have to be good. It could have been a cheap bottle of wine. You see, Bill's from Chicago. And every time that we had class with Bill, he would talk to us in the Chicago accent. And even when we got the answer to his questions right, he'd say, yeah, that's right, but why? But why, guys? But why? We're like, I don't know, Bill. Gosh, you got the answer right. Why can't I just get the answer right? I won't name names, but I know for a fact that one of our instructors hopped a barrier at a concert, jumped on stage, and full-on kissed Willie Nelson on the mouth. You can raise your hand. You don't have to, but you can. Again, I won't name names, but it's a little-known fact that Kevin Costner has an amateur rock band called Kevin Costner and the Modern West. And it's an even littler-known fact that their song Ventura Nights is written about one of our very own instructors. Not so secret anymore. Really? There was Roberta. She did our psych and gerontology class, and she was an absolute sweetheart. A little-known fact, she's also a lover of rock and roll music. John Sheridan, who took the tough subject of nursing research, where all we had to do was read and write papers all day. And his jokes were great. I loved them. They just lasted like 10 to 15 minutes. You know, so you were like waiting and waiting for it, and waiting, boom, it hit you. But it was 10 minutes late. Lori, with all of her YouTube videos that made class so much easier to tolerate. Where's Lori? There we go. And Susan coming in and holding down community health, flying every single day by the seat of her pants because she was asked to teach the class at the very last second. Each one of these staff members has a funny and unique story, and I only had a small part of time with each of them. I wish I could say something about each and every one, but I can't. If you asked my classmates beside me, they'd have tons of stories about each. What I really want to say is that this year has been literally full of blood and sweat and tears. And our faculty became family for the time that we were with them. They encouraged us and they pushed us They guided us and they imparted their years and years of combined wisdom to us so that we can carry this torch of great and safe, and awesome nursing as the next generation. I think Stephanie made a great observation to us when she said she got to see us at the beginning of the year, and we were new and we were scared, and she got to see us also at the very end of the year, and we were confident and we were ready to move forward. And that transformation would not have been possible without the whole of Samuel Merritt University. And so to finish this, I'd like to say one more big thank you very much.
Yeah, you hold it. You see David in the pink? He's wearing a pink shirt. You see him?
I know.
Okay.
What take a piece or take the break?
Excellent. It's my honor to present to you the
Hello.
students.
Hello.
May I ask
Papa,
for
puppy.
the registered nurses who are the designated pinners to please come on down to the front row.
Should we take a picture? Now it's on camera. You want me to change? You want me to change it to camera? Right now it's on video.
And this is also a great photo opportunity. So in the program, we will go alphabetical order. So when you see the student's name coming up, you can come to the center of the stage and take a great picture. Our first student is David Alvarez, who will be pinned by his spouse.
Let's change it to camera. Right now it's on video. So let's change it to camera like this.